right, guys. Facebook.
Right, all right, all right.
Negative K, nothing further. Just take care of me on the corner. That's a direct order. Do it now.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are roll call. Black, white, and blue for better relations. I'm here with a few of my friends. I got D with us, AC. I got Ty. I got Mark. I got CJ. I got Jerry. I got Cheech in the pool. I got Will Quick. I got Derek. I got Rich, West Coast. I got Melba, and I have Jim. We have a show prepared for you guys today. We want to start off with our moment of silence. All right, thank you so much, D. The volume was low. I don't know if they could hear it through Facebook Live or not. But it was low. Okay. We'll have a disclaimer from the pool, and then we'll have statement of purpose from Melba.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Excuse me for my attire, but it is 93 degrees at my undisclosed location. Before we get started, we wanted to go over a couple of things with you. First, we want to let you know that the comments and expressed concerns made by members of Roll Call are the opinions of each individual. They are not intended to be legal advice, recommendation, or suggestions. If you want any legal advice, please consult with a local attorney or your local police department as the laws change from city to city, state to state. So please consult with someone in your area. Also, once in a while, we do display graphic videos or photographs. We use these to spark our conversations and discussions. They are not intended to offend anyone. Someone from the panel will let you know ahead of time in case you do not want to see any of these video photographs. Also, they are not the property of Roll Call. We get these videos from social media like YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all that good stuff. So you have access to it also. Also, the language used by members is very spontaneous. It is uncensored. It's not intended to offend anyone. So please don't take offense to it. We don't. You will see us discuss certain matters and we might not agree, but we don't take it personal. So we hope you don't also. Thank you. Melba?
I'd just like to add that Cheech's location is not only undisclosed, it's unclothed. So, so of course, you guys know that we are a roll call, Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. So we have four basic tenets. We are pro law enforcement. We believe that law enforcement is necessary. We are anti-racism. We believe in equitable policing, and most importantly, Black lives do matter. That's it.
All right, listen, we're gonna pray for JT in Orlando. I don't know if we need to pray for Cheech anymore, but we're praying for Cheech and his wife and his wife Anna. We're praying for AC and his wife Jeanette. We're praying for Mary Barrows. We're praying for you too, Jerry. And we're praying for Melba Fong Lee. And we're praying for each person on our panel. All right. Even though nothing may be wrong, this still doesn't mean I can't pray for you. So we're praying for you, and we're praying for those who are on Facebook Live as well. Yours truly has a run, make a run somewhere, and so we have asked our newest member, Will Quick, to lead us in the discussion today, and he's going to lead us. Derek did a wonderful job last week. Will is this week. We don't know who's next week. Let's just see who volunteers for next week. But we'll be good. So Will, it's in your hands.
Okay.
And we'll be following you today. I'm going to jump back on, but we'll be following you.
Okay. All right. Well, our tech guy D is going to cue us up. D, correct me if I'm wrong. We are on YouTube now, correct? For our watchers. Uh-oh.
You're muted, D. You're muted.
My bad. We're recording it for YouTube. We're not on there yet. So
okay. All right. Got you. Clarified. Well, folks, like you said, we are Black, White, and Blue. We are roll call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. And we're going to get right into it. Our man D is going to cue up our first video.
Okay. Before we do our first video, Jim had sent us something, a little important piece of information we might want to discuss.
Okay.
Appeals court, in Suffolk County.
Oh, yeah.
Saying that the police departments must now release records of officers, whether they're unsubstantiated disciplinary or substantiated. I don't know if you want to give more text to that, Jim. That might be something for us to discuss.
Yeah, this is an interesting this turn of events. Just a little history for most of you that probably know it, at least in New York, that in 1976 the state legislature passed 50A of the Civil Service Law, which meant that police personnel files cannot be made public. Now, of course, the exception to that would be a court-ordered release for a particular officer for a particular thing. Subsequently, I think it really started right after the George Floyd murder, where the state legislature brought up and actually passed the revocation of 50A in 2020, which meant that all police departments would now have to make public upon request every complaint made by every police officer. And they kind of left it like that in the language. So most departments did send most of the things over. Suffolk County Police also did, and they did not send to the public any unsubstantiated complaints. They sent it was most of the news media that foiled this information, and they got it, but it was redacted of anything that was unfounded. So the news media brought them to court and said, nope, the revocation of 50A, you got to turn everything over. The first court, the district level that they went to, ruled in favor of the media and said, no, Suffolk County PD, you got to turn everything over, even the unfounded ones. They then brought that to the New York State Court of Appeals. It's the highest court in New York. And the appeals court in New York said, nope, district court's right, turn everything over. So right now we're in a position where every complaint and personnel file of every police officer in the state of New York must turn over upon request every complaint, even the ones that are unsubstantiated. So I thought it was a good conversation to have as to what some of the ramifications are going to be of this law. And I'm glad to see Kyle's here because this will affect district attorneys all throughout the state as well.
Jim, if I could jump in real quick on that, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't one of the recent executive orders, because you know they created a national database to keep track of officers so that they wouldn't have inappropriate conduct that one agency lose their job and be able to jump to another agency. And wasn't an executive order signed doing away with that database? Does anybody recall that happened recently?
I think you're absolutely right. There was a national database that was, but that was taken out. But this is something that is really strictly related to New York State law. So, I mean, even as an aside, which goes along with what you're saying, as an aside, the Attorney General of New York could investigate any and all complaints if they desire to. This really more is turning over to the media, turning over to the public upon request personnel files.
Right.
So it's kind of a different scenario. One is an oversight thing, which, you know, it's probably okay.
I'm just wondering if that had any bearing on the court decisions here. Yeah.
I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. But I thought it was a good conversation to have and to see what the ramifications.
Dave.
Yeah. Good
what
afternoon,
you got for us,
everybody.
Dave?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We got
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, y'all. I don't think New York City is different, man. First of all, you have a civilian complaint review board, okay? And they have a sergeant and a couple officers who oversee it, but it's a civilian complaint review board, okay? Not many. You can be sitting at home and get a dead complaint playing with your little baby boy like I was. And they don't even make it unfounded. They don't have real investigators that go out there to make this shit unfounded. They make it unsubstantiated, meaning we don't know if you did it. We don't know if you didn't do it. This is some bullshit, man. If you're going to try this system, okay, then you have to have real investigators go out there and investigate these complaints. Okay? Every time you slap handcuffs on somebody in New York, you can take them in and carry them in like a baby. You're getting a complaint. The active guys are going to get the complaint. Now you got some assholes out there who have no business on the job, okay, doing dumb shit. Yeah. But guys like me with over 500 career arrests, I'm getting them.
Yeah.
I got a complaint for the guy shooting at me. Then they killed me and I shot him. He sued me for fire. I had to go down to the civilian complaint review board for a fuck that shot at me from 15 feet away. White dude. Then he sued me for $5 million. I mean, come on, man. You gotta see it in an active cop's way too. And you can't, if you're gonna do it this way, then you're gonna have to get rid of. You gotta find better ways to do the investigation, man. I'm telling you right now. I'm getting tired of going down there to the civilian complaint review board. I'm sitting with a damn lawyer, and I'm telling him I don't know why the fuck I'm here. And he tells me, "Yo, just be quiet. Just say no to everything. You know you didn't do it." Well, fuck it. Tell him that. I wasn't there that day. We have a sign-in log at work. Sign your name in. You can't see that I'm not working that day. I mean, come on, man. And then they just bring it back unsubstantiated. Stop giving them downtown a fucking number and investigate shit right if you're going to play the system like this. Okay? Stop putting my name on paper, filling my file with bullshit. Okay. Meanwhile, you won't even let us see our own fucking file. We gotta call down there. I gotta give you fucking a month or two in advance. So you can pull the shit that shouldn't be in there out of there so I can see my own file. I haven't seen my file yet. It's fucking bullshit. And then you, Dave, you got another complaint last week. How the fuck do I know that when nobody tells me nothing? And where was I last week? Why are you telling me this? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's got to be better investigation. I can't be having fucking Howie and the Chipmunks fucking investigate me, and them motherfuckers don't like cops.
I'm gonna tell you, D. I'm gonna tell you, David. It's a difficult position to be in, and there are a lot of agencies now that are moving because we don't know if this is going to involve not officer involved shooting, but use of force, because some of those go into a hopper like a review. So whether or not they're going to extend this interpretation to include any use of force, the agency that I retired from, if you get a certain number of complaints or use of forces within a window of time, substantiated or unsubstantiated, cleared or whatever, a certain number triggers a whole nother investigation. So when you realize that the public at large and or the media can have access to that information, you're talking about really turning up the heat on officers. But let's see who we got next. Derek, I believe you were up next.
Yes. And I also wanted to throw in, I don't know if you all saw it. I think I put it in the feed today that Nassau County has put forth a bill that they're trying to pass where they don't want people to be within 15 feet of a police officer acting in the line of duty. And this is something we actually talked about maybe about a month ago. And this could turn into something really bad. It's basically a way of removing citizens' rights, because will it be the officer that's actually handling whatever he's handling, or will it be the one that walks over to the person and gets in their face so they have to keep backing up more than 15 feet? So that's on the table now.
All right. Ty, what you got for us, man?
I think Scoot and Ace here before me.
Oh, well, okay. I must have missed that.
No, it's all good, bro. I got your back. Don't you worry.
I appreciate that. Good looking out. Scooter, what you got?
All right, just really quick, just to expand a little bit on what Dave was saying. I'm just gonna say it a little different, but I'm saying the same thing. If you're an active officer, you're gonna get complaints. You're gonna get sued. I don't know anybody in here. I was up to, before I left the job, I was sued for $50 million. I was gonna get sued. I was accused of taking the guy's girlfriend, taking his car, and the New York Post, my picture was there. Trooper steals guy's girlfriend. And it was a big deal. They actually investigated it. It was a big, they looked into it. They checked me out. Oh, you must be out here stealing guy's girlfriend. And as a police officer, active police officer, Dave will tell you, we can't really say anything about it. We can't discuss the case. Kyle's coming up next. She can maybe explain why. We can't say anything. So all of these stories come out and they get filled in your file. They're still in your file. And there because the guy didn't want to get arrested for driving an unregistered car 100 miles an hour on the Meadowbrook Parkway. That was the end of it. But we went through weeks and weeks and weeks of investigation. And I said nothing. The young lady was testifying. What are you talking about? He gave me a ride home because this idiot kicked me out of the car. But we can't say that in the midst of the investigation. And I want people to understand what you're doing. Will said it quick. You're making these complaints to get out of your ticket. I know you want to get out of your ticket and you think it's not a big deal. It goes in a guy's or girl's file. He is brought up on the carpet, which means brought before the bosses. Mm-hmm. And his career on some BS, if he allows it to, everybody's not strong enough. I don't care. You can say I did anything. I know I didn't. I do by the letter of the law. I tape everything. I recorded everything back then on cassette. Fine. Spin your wheels. I don't mind you spinning your wheels. I sit across with my lawyer. I'll mention his name because he's out here in Nassau County. And I just smile and they go, why are you smiling? dude, you know I tape everything. I understand. He wants to get out of his ticket. I get it. But you idiots are the idiots by investigating this foolishness. And you're taking time out of me doing real police work because now I got to sit in front of these people and say these things and speak these things and an unsubstantiated, you're going to put that in my file? Oh, I'd have been fired the first week. Unsubstantiated, there was one a day. For me, I was an active police officer. Unsubstantiated, if I could, I'm not want to take up too much more time, but I could run down the list of things I was accused of doing. And he said it right. I wasn't even working that day, but we have to investigate it.
Yeah.
I'm not in that troop anymore. We got to investigate it. The guy stopped me. He said I was 6'5". Come on, where's Don at? 6'5", 215 pounds. He said I stood over him in an authoritative manner, and it was an actual complaint in my jacket. And I used to crack up laughing. First of all, when he said the first thing, y'all should have kicked him out of the office because he's lying, he's making things up. But what's going to end up happening is we don't have, and I'm going to say this nicely and then I'm going to get off, the strength of police officers we used to have. A complaint, 100 complaints to me really didn't matter because I could care less. But a guy where that one complaint is starting to affect him and affect his job and affect his family, you're going to have a problem on your hands. And you're going to have law enforcement officers that don't want to do anything. Why? Because you can complain, you can bring me up, get my career affected. Why would I do anything other than what I have to do? The bare minimum. It's impossible for us to do our job while we're doing the bare minimum. Come on, guys in the room. The bare minimum, oh no, I'm backing down one-way streets. I got to get there. Somebody call for help. I got to get there. I'm in the fight with them. I got to get there. I don't pay attention to, oh, you're going to complain? I'm going too fast? And that's going to be and he drives too fast. We don't hear the rest of the story, right? Context, right? That's all I'm saying. That's what we're going to do. That's the world we're going to be in. And
so
leave ourselves vulnerable to a lot of foolishness. I'm sorry, I'm done.
No worries. Kyle, we're going to get to you in a moment. The only point that comes to mind, well, a couple of points that come to mind for me is it winds up putting us in a situation of being guilty until proven innocent, assuming that we even get that chance. And then the other component is a lot of us know when you talk about evaluation and job performance, everything that we do is predicated on officer involved activity. And the metrics that the only ones that they can really calculate are enforcement, which is citations, arrest, and maybe the number of the reports that you write. But I don't know about you all's departments, but the one that I came from went away from evaluation because they didn't know how to evaluate us outside of looking at productivity numbers because they felt like that it encouraged us to go out and look for violations. Well, the last time I checked, that was crime prevention. You don't, just because you're looking doesn't mean you're making up. But going back to that guilty until proven innocent type thing, that's the way we go. But Kyle, go ahead with us because you bring a no.
AC and then me.
Okay, AC, my bad.
Before you guys go, let me just interject with the side comments from the gallery, if you will.
Yeah.
Richard Bowden says, as a former local president and employee relations guy, I'm against this unless this applies to every government worker. David Van Cleef states, how is stealing a guy's girlfriend a crime? If dude can't handle his business and she allows another person to step up, how is that a problem? Those are the comments from the side pocket right now.
In all fairness, there's a few cats on here that you could probably look at them and say, I can see how he could pull it off. We won't call no names, but there's a few cats on here that say, I can see how they could pull it off. I think we had that in the chat a couple of days ago, did we not? We were talking about somebody, James Bond.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Who we got up next? AC?
and me.
Okay.
Well, your order I have is myself, Ty, Kyle, and Mark.
Okay.
All right, and I'll be short because Kyle is coming up and going to further the part that I have. First of all, I understand the need for transparency. And if there are some police officers who have a habit of doing things over and over that they shouldn't be doing. So there's a need for some transparency. All right. The problem that we have with police work is that there are people out there who make frivolous complaints for the purpose of making frivolous complaints.
Mm-hmm.
And if that number gets high or when you have interaction with people, or even when you don't have interaction with people, that part gets sent over sent to the public, and also the DA has a chance to see this and make sure less credible because people have complaints that sometimes are illegitimate. And if you get people knowing that they can affect their prosecution by making a lot of complaints, it tends to make you want to do things for different reasons. That's all I have.
So
I totally agree with you, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So I
Got
want
him next time. Go
Yes,
ahead.
me next. Yeah, so I want to start by saying I cannot confirm or deny anything that Mark Matthews is getting ready to say about me. Kyle, I like to put you on retainer because I don't trust what Mark might going to say. Anyway, so greetings everybody. Because Mark and Donald and Dirk know where the bodies are buried, so I got to be careful about them. So greetings everybody. Jim, I can't help but to go back to my original thought process. Maybe the last time the administration we had was in business with regards to martial law. I feel like that executive order, this thing happened in Suffolk County, all these little things are little bitty pieces of the puzzle to take the power out of police officers' hands to control their ability to effectively and efficiently want to police. They can police, but if you're going to put in my report that I spat on the sidewalk 3 times last month and be open to the public if they want to see it, how am I going to grab somebody who's trying to stab somebody else and use amount of force reasonable and necessary to make the arrest without getting it put in my jacket? So I just feel like this is a full circle moment, Jim. I always refer to Jim when I say this, because I've been telling Jim this since 2008, 2020. I've been saying this to Jim, that I really feel like that this administration wants to find every little way it can to get to a situation where they can say, well, the police departments are doing the best that they can, but we feel like crime is a little bit out of control. We need to instill some other form of policing. That's how they're going to phrase it, but we all know that it means a martial law type of thing. I know it's a very extreme point of view, but the minute I hear they're going to expose his entire jacket, substantiated or not, I mean, what is the purpose of putting out something unsubstantiated?
Make you look bad?
Exactly, Derek.
Yeah.
If I know something that made me look bad, whether I did it or not, I ain't doing shit.
It's tantamount to what they used to call padding someone's jacket. We talk about a defendant, and you padding their jacket with stuff that would get them more severe penalty, because that's what this is going to amount to. It's going to, all of these complaints, unsubstantiated or not, they're going to start looking at it as where there's smoke, there's fire.
You can't unsee it, Will. Once you see it, whether it's something like Dirk just said, whether it's substantiated or not, you can't unsee it. Somebody felt some kind of way. So that's the problem I have with this, man. It just feels like a same ball, just trying to gain momentum. That's what it feels like to me. I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead. Mark, be nice. Sorry, Mark.
Okay. We got we should have CJ.
Yes. Comment from David Van Cleef. He says, what are the repercussions for civilians who file frivolous complaints? I'm going to start with this and y'all can pick it up. Nothing.
I used to lock their asses up. You file a false robbery, when a robbery attack, you file a fake robbery report, and I see your ex-boyfriend's punching card at work, and that shit says he signed it at 9 o'clock. You say he robbed you at 9. I'm locking your ass up. That's what I did. Shit.
Dave, we know that when it gets right down to it, you are not one to be fiddle farting around with it. You're gonna get right into the game, and that's understandable because that's what we do. That's the nature of our work. This this breaks and all of this other stuff they're putting on us is unreasonable. And right now, next up, we got I think Kyle, it's your turn.
Good afternoon. This is there's a lot here. I just want to start by saying that, you have to remember where this change in the law is coming from and why, right? You start at the beginning, and then and go from there. I understand this panel is obviously law enforcement, and you're looking at it from that perspective, but look at it or try to broaden your perspective a little bit to understand why the public might feel very differently. The police have been allowed to be insulated from any scrutiny for years. They would take the stand and testify without the public defense counsel or the public knowing anything about prior behavior. Meanwhile, their jacket could be full of complaints or disciplinary actions that mirror or come close to what a witness may have been describing happened in that particular case, but nobody would know about it. So there is, I think AC said there's a need for transparency. Yes, that's really where it comes from. When you later discover from other means that a particular officer had numerous complaints similar to the incident that took place, or substantiating what some of the other witnesses may have said the police action was. And so it's always disturbing for the public to find out later that, this officer was involved in this, that, and the other thing. I think when you think about it that way, you understand the need for this kind of transparency. Also, any other witness who takes the stand is subject to this kind of scrutiny. The difference between other government workers and police officers, Mr. Bowden, I think in the Facebook comment, is that, police have a duty to protect and serve. Police have a gun and a badge and the ability to take someone's liberty and their life. And that puts them in a different category than some other clerk sitting in an office building somewhere who may be called to testify or something. And that doesn't, and there aren't any laws to protect that clerk anyway, right? So their personnel file may become subject matter of that, whatever hearing or proceeding in which they're called to testify. But police officers had been insulated from that type of scrutiny. So they are different, and there should be. I understand why the need for it and why the law has been changed. I think the department. I hear you though about the frivolous complaints. I think it's and with respect to what Dave said, it's up to the department then to protect their officers from these frivolous complaints. Do your investigation. Find it to be, in fact, frivolous. Put that in writing so that you're protecting the officer who is someone complains against, and it turns out to be a whole lot of nothing, or you weren't there, or it was petty or frivolous. You protect that officer without insulating the officer who time and time again is just abusing people on the street and wreaking havoc and just being a bad cop. And the other thing is that the department can decide, just how they handle that whole proceeding. In light of this new court ruling, you would ask, they should be pivoting to protect those officers that need this kind of protection, or not so much protection, but make a specific finding and not leave it so open and broad and subject to every other kind of interpretation except innocence of this police officer, that the police officer in fact didn't do anything, or this was proper procedure, or this person is exaggerating or lying or whatever have you. And stop hiding behind these unfounded and unsubstantiated broad terms. I think that as a prosecutor, yeah, you're gonna hate to see all this kind of thing come up. But the idea is that you have to deal with it, just like you would deal with any other witnesses' prior bad behavior or prior criminal records. I mean, we do this all the time. It's part and parcel of what we do anytime you're putting a witness on the stand. And juries are not stupid. If you explain it, if you're ready for it, if you've prepared for it, then the officer, a defense attorney is going to make hay with it, but it doesn't mean that it's going to go too far, right? They're going to raise it, and you have to defend yourself under those circumstances. And if you have a good arrest and a good procedure and everything was done properly, you may have to answer to these things, but the jury is going to see that it is in fact frivolous or petty or minor or has nothing at all to do with the incident that is the subject matter of the case. And as a prosecutor, even when I have civilian witnesses sitting there who have a long rap sheet or some really nasty things on their sheet, doesn't necessarily mean that juries disbelieve them. You prepare the witness, you prepare the jury, you explain it, and from the defense perspective and the general public's perspective, that police officer shouldn't sit there in a better position than any other witness. And that's really where it's coming down to. I think with respect to whether there's a finding that it's office that is frivolous and what happens to that person who makes it, that nothing's going to happen. It's a civil complaint. And until the law, sort of catches up with that and decides that there's going to be some consequence, there wouldn't be any consequence to a person who makes a complaint, because a lot of times it's subjective anyway, right? You might say, I wasn't rough, I was pleasant, I was professional, and somebody else may see that as belligerent and abusive and which would warrant a complaint against that police officer. So the actual finding that it was unsubstantiated, I think someone who brings that complaint necessarily shouldn't suffer a consequence unless it was some sort of malicious thing, and it's civil, as long as it's not something that you're making a complaint that would result in someone in charges being brought against the police officer. That's different. Now you're filing a false report essentially. But in a civil complaint, he was rough, he was abusive, called me this, that, and the other thing, and there's no charges or criminal punitive damage that could not necessarily punitive, but criminal charges that could be brought. There really shouldn't be a consequence as the laws are written right now, until they change that and decide that they do want to make it so. But I think that the onus is really on the department to make a proper finding that protects the officer who is just out there doing his job. Maybe people don't like the way it was done, or I was watching television the other day and there was an arrest made and everybody in the room, I said, well, arrests are not pretty. It's not going to be nice. And, if someone is resisting, it gets ugly quick. So, people may not like the way something takes place, but that doesn't necessarily, of course, doesn't mean that the officer acted improperly. But, remember, go back to why this law was changed. What is happening? And all the times we find out that an officer did this, that, and the other thing 20 times, and nobody knew. It's a bad look, and it makes a stain on the entire department. And the department really needs to start cleaning up its own act, handling things better, pivoting and making those findings and coming to those decisions quickly, so that someone like Dave is not, back and forth to court on something or to an administrative hearing that's really not necessary. There are ways to do this, and they just need to get there a lot quicker than they have, and protect those officers that need protecting.
Yeah. You got a lot of valid points there, Kyle. One of the things that I'm waiting to see if somebody's going to come out with is this whole thing from the perspective of administration or people who are looking at these situations, because we can all keep it 100. The perspective on the street and the perspective of the white shirts or the ones in the office oftentimes are very, very different. And when you're talking about at that level trying to maintain your position, I hate to put it this way, but I've seen my fair share of good street officers become sacrificial lambs in the interest of somebody higher up, making sure they stay in place. I think our next person up is Mark.
That's a department problem, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, depends, because it's a situation that every department's got to deal with. So yeah, it's a department problem, but now that this is out there, who is actually standing up for the officer? Remember, we don't have unions
that's
down
up
here.
to the department to stand up for their officer. If the officer has done a clean job and there's no problem with it, despite what the general public may see, they need to defend that officer, and they have a union, and there are things that can be done for that officer. But
it goes a little deeper than that, Kyle. It really does, at least from my experience. But I think Mark was next. I know we got your hand up, Ty.
I was going to say one thing. I want to ask Kyle one question, if you guys don't mind. Kyle, do you think that the entire jacket should be exposed, or just anything in the jacket, substantiated or not, with regards to a particular case, should be exposed? You want to mute? You want to mute, honey?
Mute.
You muted yourself. You muted, Kyle. Yeah, there you go.
I think, I'm at the point now where I think the whole jacket needs to be disclosed. And you defend yourself just like any other witness would defend themselves from other prior bad acts or anything that they did. The defense attorney is going to go after the witness and figure out what they did, this, that, 5-10 years ago, whatever. And, why should a police officer be sitting there in a better place than any other witness?
Because a police officer may have to do something an accountant don't have to do. So we may have to arrest somebody.
But I think that if you can defend yourself, you can speak
we should
to
have to defend ourselves in this case and another case.
And I don't think that a court's going to allow so much, if it's really petty and minor and administrative things. Let's get to the heart of what we're talking about.
Right. Okay.
A prosecutor can make those arguments that those things should not necessarily that it wasn't disclosed, but used against the police officer, because it really is not relevant to any situation. It just depends. I mean, there are arguments that can be made there. But again, I go back to the department. That with this law in mind, what do you do about those administrative things? Do you bring them? Do you write them up in the same way? They have to recognize these things are going to may haunt their officers, and if that's not their intent, then they need to decide that and figure out a way to do their job without sullying these records like that, with all this frivolous stuff, all this petty things, or somehow separate them in some way that it's not part of their personnel jacket. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I think that the public wants to see what this officer is all about, and to parcel out, then somebody's interpreting what to parcel out and what not to, what to keep and what then you have that fight. I think it should ultimately up to the judge to decide whether something can be used or not.
Let's see if we can get to the other hands. It looked like we don't open up a real can with this one. I think Mark, you're next up, correct?
Yes. So you brought up white shirts. So I was one of those white shirts.
Mm-hmm.
I had to investigate officers' wrongdoings, and you know what? Sometimes, like Kyle said, it could turn into a money thing, because if I found that somebody was guilty, they could get written up and lose time. But in the case like of Dave, I'll use Dave as an example. If I'm going through that case and I see that Dave was off on the day in question, I'm not putting unsubstantiated. I'm putting exonerated. I'm standing up for that officer, because it's like there's no way it's not him. And people make mistakes all the time. So, I didn't understand why sometimes department heads who did my job would be afraid to use that word. If it's clear and evident that that person did not commit it, if there was video. I had another situation where the lady said that the officer did something. I looked at a video. It wasn't true. So I'm not going any further. It's exonerated and that's it. But what I wanted to talk about was, I know the officers get upset when these complaints come in. And as an administrator, we have to walk a fine line. Because if we say it's frivolous without a full investigation, you may not like the fact that I got to call you in and do a full investigation. But in the long run, and I'm sure Kyle will agree with this, if I don't do a full investigation and later on it's found out that I flubbed it because I thought it was garbage, and then something else happens, now I look bad, the officer looks bad, and we're both in trouble. So I got to do a full investigation. And like I said, I've had officers upset with me. Oh, why this is bull. How come I'm but listen, if it's bull, let me find out and I'll exonerate you. And then you're covered. You don't have to look over your back. You don't have to worry about somebody re-examining the file and finding something that I missed. So it's a fine line sometimes when you're a white shirt and you're trying to do the right thing by the officers. And like I said, my thing, I tried to be as fair as I could. So if you didn't do anything wrong, I was your best friend. You might have been afraid. You might have been nervous that I was investigating it. And that's okay. That's understandable. I've been there, done that. Okay. But I knew that I was going to try to find the truth. And then whatever the truth was, the truth is the truth.
And right or wrong is important. I get your point. But what we're talking about with this issue is right and or wrong is going to be held against the officer because it's going to fill up their jacket.
Right, wrong, untrue.
Yeah. Well, so Jim, I think we got you up next.
Well, I just want to.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, you're right, and that goes from when the department does its investigation. Now it goes into the DA's office, and they have to then take that information and then, like Kyle said, if it's relevant to the case and whatever the findings were, then that'll be taken in. So it's really a two-part question. It's what the department does and then what the DA does with that information that's going to make a difference. But it's something, unfortunately, because of so many police cases that were exposed of wrongdoings, that now they want transparency. So we've moved on. So like it or not, we've moved on. Now we just have to rely on the department to do a full investigation, and then the DA's office, that if that officer is just getting complaints because he's active, to cover him as well. But if he's not, then they have to look into it.
Okay. And again, great points to be made. We got 3 hands up, and these are the 3 that we're going to stick with for the duration of this discussion, so we can at least move into one of the videos.
4 hands.
4 hands up. Okay. I see Jim is next. What we got? We got Cheech. We got Derek. Who's the 4th hand?
D Schoon.
D Schoon. Okay. All right. Got you.
Don't forget CJ.
And CJ.
My bad. I thought we hit CJ. I'm sorry.
I just want to give you guys a quick side pocket. David Van Cleef said, well said, Miss Kyle. He also says, seeing the entire jacket is used to establish a pattern of behavior. I'm done.
All right, Jim, you're up.
Yeah, great conversation. Great conversation, and it's nice to get all sides of a particular issue like we did. And as a former white shirt myself, I understand Mark's statements completely. You know, when one of the things from a supervisor's point of view is, and it was something that's always questioned, why are you taking this complaint? Why are you taking this complaint? Not every unsubstantiated complaint is valueless to a supervisor. If you have somebody that pulls over cars all the time and every complaint, they use the N-word every time. But it's always a he said, she said, he said, she said, he said, she said. Nobody, no witnesses, no video, no audio. It keeps coming back unsubstantiated. As a supervisor, I want to know those complaints. You know, somebody said where there's smoke, there's fire. Well, in some cases, that's absolutely true. Now, the other side of that, and this is where I do not think that this law is going to be beneficial to society or the courts, is that when you have we don't have a finding of frivolous, but I do like it, Kyle. I do like it. Maybe it's something that they should consider, and then the court and the jury could hear, and that was frivolous, rather than unsubstantiated, which means, you know, there wasn't enough substance to the case to find it one way or the other. Or use unfounded, and even unfounded has kind of well, maybe they didn't dig deep enough. Doesn't look good. So maybe we need some new disposition words to use on this. But the reason I'm against it, is because I think it's going to have an impact on supervisory oversight. I think knowing now that every action every officer under me is going to take is going to mean I'm going to kind of, do I really want to put pen to paper on this and have this on his personnel jacket going to court? I think those kinds of doubts are going to be in the minds of supervisors in moving forward with this.
Well, if I could just comment up with respect to that, I hear you, and I kind of alluded to that, and to say that the department needs to decide how they're going to respond, under this new ruling of the court, and they have to decide what they're going to do, what terminology they're going to use. I mean, yes, there should be a department response with respect to this, and it might quell or have an impact on some of their disciplinary charges or actions, but they have to make those decisions and determinations of just what they're going to do, whether they need to revamp what they do and how they do it. So I don't disagree with you, Jim. I think that's part of what should happen as a result of this finding of the court.
Okay. All great points. Cheech, what you got?
Yeah, Kyle just hit it on the head. I mean, the wording is a big thing. Frivolous. Like it or not, we're in a field where we're going to have complaints, where people are going to make frivolous complaints because they're upset at their charge or their ticket, whatever's going on. So like it or not, it's going to happen. We need transparency. And I think it's just the wording has to be different. Unfounded can't be used, because like Jim said, that means that they didn't dig deep enough. It could still leave the officer looking bad. So a good prosecutor also is going to take all those to the side, even if the defense brings it up, and show that, hey, this is all BS and it's not important, and if you're a good officer, I don't think you have anything to worry about. I mean, unfortunately, it's the field that we're in. It's the job, and you're gonna get those complaints. You just, like some of us here said, the paperwork, the wording, all of that's just gonna have to be changed. That's it.
True. Derek, carry us out. What you got?
Yeah, so one of the things that concerns me, and now this has been an issue with NYPD all along, because interdepartmentally, they have access to all these complaints. Everything gets put in your file, in your jacket, and anyone can see it that has access to the jacket. So what it does is, I'm not even talking about the criminal part or where a judge is going to see it or attorneys are going to see it. I'm talking about interdepartmentally, where it'll stop you from making parallel moves within the department. You know, you could want to get into a unit, into a task force that gives you access to becoming a detective. Or you could just want to get into a unit that makes more overtime, or a unit that has weekends. And these things come up. And obviously, if you're busy, like Dave said, if you're an active guy, the more people you come in contact with, the higher the risk of there being complaints made. And it's like internal affairs is on top of this stuff. They're in your jacket. Civilian Complaint Review Board is in your jacket. And for our department, anytime you went to make a lateral move within a department, you had to interview with an ordinate from that unit. And when you go for that interview, they have that jacket in front of them. There was a time where I had a lieutenant, you know, I was interviewing to getting into this unit called the bus squad. And I get there and I sit down and we're talking. And he says, you know, I see you have a number of civilian complaints here. He said, the last one I'm showing is XY date. Do you have any since then? And I said, yes, I do. Actually, I got another one, you know, a month ago or whatever.
Yesterday.
And his exact words to me were, yeah, we have another officer here that has a problem with his hands too. So I knew I wasn't getting in that unit, and I didn't. You know what I mean? But it's not just what happens in the court; it's what happens interdepartmentally as well. So
that's right.
You know, they hurt you all the way around.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I'm gonna tell you. Go ahead.
It's not things that you're found guilty of. It's just things that people made allegations of, and they're unfounded.
Yeah, it's like you said, this thing has a lot of layers to it. We get cleared up the hands that I saw. As deep as we are into this, I don't want to overlook anyone. So D, I know you had something you wanted to add to it.
Nah, I was just gonna throw CJ alley-oop, give her a little assist. We didn't mention the people in our chat crew, and I just wanted to run down the list. Unless CJ, you want to do it, I don't want to take your thunder. But
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You can do it.
Okay, Donald Coleman, Eric James, Eva, Beverly Harrelson Wells, Richard Bowden, David Van Cleef, Beryl McMillan. I like that name. That's on that one. The other one I have Isabel Jordan.
Yes.
I think I said Eric James before. If I missed anybody, please help me out. I just wanted to, I know I like to make sure the chat is shout out because they help out a lot.
Absolutely. Good luck.
Yes.
We could probably, I imagine probably once the show is done, this topic is going to be revisited. But in the interest of making sure we cover some of the stuff we said we would, D, we ready to move on to our first video?
Yes. It's a trigger alert. I don't know whether you guys were here in the beginning and we did our memorial. One of the people in the memorial was this officer that is involved, this correction officer that's involved in this video. Let's just take a look. But it's a trigger alert, so monitor your computer screens. And if you're in the pool, just go to the other side of the pool.
And breaking right now, we are about to get new details on an officer-involved shooting in Brentwood that happened earlier today. The Suffolk Police Commissioner and Chief of Detectives are holding a news press conference at the 3rd Precinct in Bayshore. Let's listen in.
All right, at approximately 12:30 this afternoon, 3rd Precinct officers responded to 303 Wurz Street in Brentwood after receiving a call to check on the welfare of a Mr. Bruce Boyd, 54 years old. The officers were met by Mr. Boyd's wife in front of the house, who subsequently opens the front door for the officers, who enter and encounter Mr. Boyd holding a knife drenched in blood from what appears to be at least 2 self-inflicted wounds. At this point, the officers flee out the front door onto the front lawn. The officers retreat the length of the front lawn, all while yelling at Mr. Boyd to drop the knife. Mr. Boyd continues charging at the officers, at which point at least one officer discharges their firearm, striking Mr. Boyd. The officers immediately begin CPR and continue CPR until the ambulance arrives. Mr. Boyd is transported to South Shore University Hospital in Bayshore, where he was pronounced deceased. According to New York State law, the Attorney General's office has been notified. Any questions?
Are you saying Boyd, B-O-Y-D?
B-O-Y-D.
Okay. Is there a history of domestic or any kind of response to this?
No domestic, but there is a history of emotionally disturbed calls.
Previous arrests?
No previous arrests that we're aware of.
And what's the status of his wife right now? Is she safe in custody?
His wife is safe, and she is being taken care of.
Any other officers?
The officers were treated for tinnitus and shock at the hospital.
And 2 officers?
3 officers responded.
And how many times was the person shot?
It's still under investigation.
How many shots fired?
Still under investigation.
Police press conference there from Kevin Catalina, the police commissioner at Suffolk Police, about a shooting that took place earlier today. What we just learned was that it happened on Wirt Street in Brentwood. 3 officers responded to a domestic call from a family member that wanted them to check on this family. They encountered a man with a bloody knife when the door was opened. That man, his name we just learned was Bruce Boyd, 54 years old, a retired New York corrections officer. The police asked him to stand where he was. He apparently charged them, and they had to open fire. He died at the hospital earlier today as well. There was a lot of activity in that neighborhood before we just learned all about this today. And we have Kevin Vesey on the scene right now in Brentwood, where police say this shooting happened. Kevin, what's the scene there?
Yeah, and Joe, still a lot of activity here. You can see the street behind me shut down. It's been shut down for hours now since early this afternoon. And this certainly is frightening for a lot of people who live in the neighborhood. There are people who tell me that they heard these shots. We spoke with someone who said she heard several shots in quick succession. Other neighbors who maybe didn't hear the shots but saw the aftermath and the investigation and came over, wanted to know what was happening. Another thing about this area is there's actually a daycare right down this street, and we've been seeing parents coming, picking up their children, some very young, as young as 8 months old or so, being picked up from this daycare. So infants and toddlers at that daycare being picked up. So we heard the really tragic details about this. A welfare chief. Listen to what she had to say.
Out of nowhere, 12:30 on the dot, I hear like 5 to 6 shots, like pop, 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 pop. And I said, what the heck just happened?
And again, here's another look at the scene right now. You can see this is still a very active investigation several hours after the police involved shooting happened. And again, it was a 54-year-old man, a retired New York City correction officer who they were doing a welfare check on. Police said he charged at them with a knife, and then police opened fire tragically.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm pretty sure I can speak for everybody. The first thing that comes to mind is our hearts go out to the family of the deceased. Our hearts go out to the officers. There's a good chance that since he's prior law enforcement or criminal justice, that they may know or know of this guy. And that just adds a whole nother layer to what they had to do in that situation, because we all know there's a lot of people that try to say, well, he had a knife, we had a gun. A knife is still a deadly weapon. So I'm looking for the hands. You all bear with me a second.
I'm up. I got you, Will.
D and Dave.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Okay. I just want to say really quickly, just the people watching, police officers are people too. Correction officers are people too. You don't know what the pressures of this gentleman's life or his job might have took him through. They discussed in the beginning that there was some mental health contact with him earlier. I really think it's important that we take that serious. Don't be afraid. I know everybody doesn't want to embarrass people, but don't be afraid to find somebody that you can tell, somebody that can go evaluate, somebody that'll pull up at the house and do something, have a cup of coffee, and just make sure the 2 things that a peer counselor, of which I am, is concerned with. We don't have 25 years of psychiatric experience. We don't have that. But there are two things that are drilled into our head when I'm speaking to anybody, and that's anybody, whether they have mental health problems or not. Are they going to be a threat to themselves or someone else? If you're calling up, don't be afraid to make the phone call, because that's the determination they're going to have to make. Now, past that, and I'm just going to talk about for me. For me, if I think the person's going to hurt themselves, I'm staying with them. And I'm going with them to the doctor, and I'm going with them to the hospital. Understand, you don't have to have a psychiatrist or psychologist on speed dial. I do, but you don't have to. You can walk into any emergency room and ask for a psychiatric consult. It's important that you do that. The person's not going to like you. They're going to be mad at you. But I look at it like this. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to step off. I'm okay with you being mad at me if you're alive to be mad at me. Stay with me. I'm not trying to be liked by anybody. I learned that earlier, and if I could help anybody else through not being liked, I don't really care if you like me. At the end of the day, if you're alive to not like me, I'm doing my job. So if you want to call somebody, a peer or somebody, call somebody who's going to be okay with Dave not liking him. I'm going to be okay with that. I might even smoke a cigar with him. I don't know. Maybe. But I'm going to make sure anybody that I come into contact with is going to get the help, get them a consult. And then if they don't want to talk to me past there, I've done all I can do. So I think a lot of these things go by the wayside because he was a law enforcement officer. We don't want to embarrass him. We don't want to. And now we're here. Now he's in the memorial at the beginning of our show. I want to avoid that at all costs. And if you don't like me, that's fine. And I'm done. I think Dave.
Yeah, Dave is up next.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on the. I agree with everything D. Schoon just said. Police officers. People think we're doctors, we're lawyers, we're school teachers, we're garbage men. We're all that. But in the law enforcement aspect of it, when you go into these houses, man, you don't know what we don't know what information is relayed to 911 either. And when they seen this guy come out charging at them, I don't know how big this man was or anything, but we only got 21 feet. If you have a knife coming, that's it. You only got 21 feet, and you better have your gun out, because if you ain't getting out the holster if he's 18 feet, 19 feet in, you're not getting it out. This ain't TV. This ain't Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry. It ain't none of that. Okay, if you don't have that pistol out, and that guy starts charging with a knife, okay, and he gets within 18, 19 feet. By the time you get that gun out, you might get a shot off, but your ass is grass. They close on you so fast, man. It's like you'll be surprised about people with mental issues, the speed that they have, how they can close in on you so fast. Okay, and it's all tunnel vision. They see you, your ass, and that's it, and they coming. But I feel bad for him and his family, the officers, I don't know officers who want to come to work every day and look to shoot and kill people. So naturally you're going to be traumatized too, because you just shot a man. You didn't come to work that day for that. You probably came to work. Let me get my 8 hours in, go home, play with my kids or something, or take my wife out to eat, or my girlfriend, or whatever. But some of these questions that the media was asking this commissioner, man, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, how many shots were fired? Shit, enough to stop his ass. Okay? Come on, man. This is shit that I'm talking about, man. I'm like, this guy was charging outside. It didn't enough. My last point was this. Every time a cop has getting a shooting, here comes all these witnesses running to jump on the TV camera for the media. But when Ray and them are blasting up a fucking street corner and a young girl playing with a coloring book inside an apartment is shot, none of them coming forward.
Mhm.
Okay, so I don't know. I feel I'm sorry that this gentleman had to lose his life. He probably had a career in Rikers Island or something that was probably horrible, and now the cops got to say, "Oh, I killed a man," and he was a former corrections officer. So he's going to need counseling. Okay, how many cops were there? How many shots of that don't make a damn difference. It could be 10 cops there. That guy's charging at the closest officer. You got to do what you got to do. Well, I don't see no Superman S on our chests. On our chest.
No. And stuff that don't bounce off, that's for sure. You're right.
Yeah.
Cheech, what you got?
So, jumping on what Dave was just saying, I was skeptical at first, but down by me, they have a BEAR team. It's Behavioral Evaluation Advanced Response Team.
Mm-hmm.
I was skeptical just because of this situation, right? That you never know, what they're going to come out with. Him having a knife and everything. But it actually, they're really doing good down here. Thousands of calls already, and it's medical professionals. I believe a paramedic goes with them. And they're handling all these calls, and they have taken a big load off the police department from having to respond to these calls or check on the welfare of somebody that's having a mental health episode. And so far, thank God, none of them have turned violent. So even though when it first started, like I said, I was skeptical, I got it out right. Now I'm starting to believe in them, that it helps out. Now there are situations where the police are going to have to respond because it's violent. We all know that, that you do have some that can turn violent. But I don't know what you guys think about that or what other departments are doing at this time. I've heard that other departments around the country have similar. I'm having a bad day out here.
Get out of that pool. Too much sun.
I'm trying to
It's the pina coladas.
That umbrella drink.
I'm trying to figure out what Cheech is doing at Mar-a-Lago. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Trying to get a cabinet position.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so if other departments have similar teams that are doing the same thing, but I think they're doing a good job, and I think it does help. But it's unfortunate. My condolences to the family, especially being a correction officer for me. I know how that is, and it's tough. So I hate that happened, but that's it.
Yeah, I think we all know and we all agree that our response to emotionally disturbed and mental illness, that component almost exists at virtually any call you go to on some level. And I think one of the things that the public still doesn't understand is a physical threat to violence, whether the person is emotionally disturbed or is in the process of actually committing a crime, is still a very real threat of serious injury or death. We don't have a different playbook from the standpoint of neutralizing threat when it's imminent like that. And that's probably the most difficult part for the public to swallow, because they're saying if this gentleman had gotten help somewhere, why didn't the police help them? I can't say I prescribe to that, but I hope that these conversations and the people that tune in try to get some perspective from a different set of eyes. Did I miss anybody?
I think Rich is up. Rich.
Okay.
Rich.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, good afternoon. I think it's time that we somehow have some kind of corporation develop some kind of defensive weapon that we could use to save people. These emotional disturbed individuals that have knives. Some kind of device. I don't know if they can have an explosive, like a kind of a shotgun thing, and a net shoots out We got to develop something that wraps these people up, so we don't have to. Cops don't have to come on scene. You know, when people bring a knife to a gunfight and take people out, we get some kind of other less lethal method that could wrap them up. I hope they can come up with something. And we had the last thing was what, the taser. You know, we need to develop something else.
Rich, real quick, and we had this before I retired. It's something just like you described. It's called a bolo wrap.
Yeah.
And the cords are made out of Kevlar, and it's got basically two prongs, and it's kind of like with the taser, you got to get a certain distance. But once you deploy it, it basically goes and it wraps around the person. And because it's made out of Kevlar, it's not easily broken. It gives you at least a little bit of window if it deploys just right. It's still, you know, kind of like taser. Sometimes you might miss with the probes, but at least there is another option that if it works well, then it's great. If you don't hit it just right, then you're kind of back to square one. But as you were saying, it does give another option.
Oh, great. I didn't even know they had that. I was just thinking they need to develop something. That's good.
Yep.
You still need police officers to deploy it.
Yep. Who's next?
Yeah.
CJ would like to go to the jacket pocket comments. David Van Cleef made a comment, and I believe it refers to the previous conversation. So you guys, it'll fit in where we get in. He says, unfortunately, we have a small segment of society that are looking for a payday. They throw stuff against the wall, hoping something sticks. It would be nice if a civilian caught fishing for cash was required to mandatorily attend a civilian police academy. And Marcus Diggs joined us in the meantime, and he has a comment that says, I'm late. Is that going in my jacket? He's responding to Dave Van Cleef's, and then the Van Cleef's comment. And then he states also that could give them more fodder if they see a rule broken. David Van Cleef comes back and says, great answer, Dave. Marcus Diggs comes back and states, first response and police backup. Marcus Diggs also states, isn't that what tasers are for? So he was coming out with your comment, Rich. And then he also states rubber bullets, bean bags. So yes, these are things that we do have had access to. But once again, we all know that you got to be in the right position, in the right place to make these bean bags and rubber bullets take place. Because while you shooting a rubber bullet, he's got a knife coming at you for real. And your rubber bullet may possibly miss. I'm just saying. I'm done.
So anybody else? Got something to add to this, Mark?
Yeah, I want to add something to it. So you got to think about, safety, officer safety. There are people who are either so amped up on drugs or have a mental issue that the taser will not work. So what officer wants to risk tasering somebody who's coming at them with a knife? Because if it doesn't work or it misses or one probe gets in and the other probe hits a piece of material on the coat or what he's wearing and doesn't penetrate, that taser does nothing at all.
Yeah.
Okay? And that, like Dave said, that person will be up on you so quick, and there's no second chances with police work. So that's just the unfortunate thing. The military comes up with a lot of stuff, and we kind of get their hand-me-downs. I know the military was looking at something that similar to what Rich talked about, but everything that comes out has a dark side. Even the bolos, if you get maybe hit one of those things, it could kill you. They have the sticky foam, but everything has a dark side. If it doesn't work, you got to realize what's next. And if that person's close enough to do you damage, then it's ineffective.
And you make a great point with that, Mark, because when you're talking about that situation and you have the contact cover, so you always maintain deadly force cover that gives you an option to be able to use less than lethal force. And in this situation, it sounded like there were two officers there. We're not going to beat up anybody about why taser option wasn't given when they had 2 officers and could have used lethal cover while they tried a less lethal option. Because at the end of the day, we've all agreed a knife is a deadly weapon and deadly force is appropriate.
It has something to do with them running out the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Marcus also states that deadly force has to be met with deadly force. And then he states, unless you run away and get cover.
Yeah.
David Van Cleef adds, with the current political atmosphere and the desire to move to martial law, we seem to be headed into the time of RoboCop with the weapons from the Fifth Element.
Leave Tyrone out of it. Leave Tyrone out of it.
420.
Well, folks, our time is running real tight right about now, and certainly we can't get into another video. But as we're getting ready to close out and we're in our last few minutes, I think Dee's got something for us that's going to kind of change the trajectory of the discussion, because it's been a little bit dark with this stuff, but it's real.
We wanted to add a little segment to our to give a little safety tips. I know Cheech had something, but I'm gonna if he wants to add something into this, he certainly can. He's in the pool, so he probably wants to relax. If you remember a few years back, I think about 4 or 5 years back, they came out with 3 licenses. There was the standard license, the real ID, and then the enhanced license. And a lot of people went for the cheaper version because they thought, it's a license is a license is a license. But now, on May 12th, you're going to need at least the real ID. So those of you that have the standard ID, it may work in some cases, but it's not going to work in a lot of other cases. I know with the enhanced ID, you can travel to Mexico and Canada. I don't know why we go there now, because somebody's causing problems, but you can just go without your passport. So just to know that by May 7th, they're going to start requiring you to have a real ID. So if you don't have it, you want to get it. Cheech, if you want to add something to that, you certainly can. But I just want to do a quick travel advisory. There was a young lady in the Dominican Republic, I believe, a couple of weeks ago that went missing. And it prompted me to, I've always given people that travel internationally, because I've had the opportunity for work to travel internationally quite often, and to give them a safety perspective from a police officer when you travel internationally. Really quick, you want to make sure somebody from here has your personal information that they can give to that. The rules here don't apply there. I don't want to say where, but we have this mindset of I have my rights. No, you don't. You go to some of these places and you have no rights. Nobody's going to look for you. There's nothing you can do that you're used to having here. So you have to understand that. In understanding that, you have to make sure someone has your personal ID or your personal information, so they can at least give it to whatever investigating agency, either here or there, that's going to look into this. There are 4 things I like to do when I go to any foreign place. Cheech, where you are foreign, hope you did this. First thing, I want to find out the closest hospital. The second thing, I want to find out is closest pharmacy. The third thing for me, because I'm law enforcement, is I go by the police department. I use it as I want to see what you guys do. I'm a trooper from New York, and we have this conversation, but I want them to see my face. I want them to know when something happened at the hotel I am, we might want to go get D, because he bought us coffee yesterday. The last thing you want to do is you want to find out where the American embassy is. Very few people do this. And all heck breaks loose, somebody drops a bomb, and you're running around. And if you know where that embassy is, you grab your passport, you put it in your hand, and you go to running. And they may shoot behind you, but they won't shoot you. You just got to know those are the rules. And so many of Americans are getting caught behind other lines and not understanding what the rules are. You have to understand what the rules are in the place that you are, not in where you come from in North Carolina or Jersey. That doesn't matter in another country. They have their own set of rules and regulations. Now, there's a thing really quick. I'm almost done. with the passport, they now come out with a passport card. Invest in it. I think it's $25. It's worth the investment because as Cheech is in a foreign country, he's in the pool. I bet you he don't even know where his passport is right now.
No,
it ain't in the pool, I'm sure. But if he had that plastic card, he can have it in his gym shorts. If he's wearing shorts, he'd have it somewhere he can get to it quickly. Just so anybody out there can know him as an American citizen. If you're traveling with people, I know, and this is for my younger people, I'm almost done. I'm not going to preach to you. I know you want to have your alone time and your personal time when you're away. And I know, I went through spring break. I wasn't just born yesterday. Safety first. Safety first. If you need to go somewhere with somebody, safety first. We always talk about a wingman. Come on, Ty. You always talk about a wingman.
Yep.
Nobody else knows where Ty is, but I know where Ty is.
I know you do, bro.
You understand? You got to have your wingman. That's going to be like, I don't know until he needs to know, right? I'm saying that to say, I mean, we make light of it, but you're going. This young lady went into this place and disappeared into the ocean.
Yep.
We went back, forth. She's gone. At the end of the day, she's gone. I know if it's why one of those girls, two of the girls left the beach. Why wasn't sitting? Hey, look, give her alone time, 30 feet away. But why is she sitting on the other bench waiting for her to get finished?
Yeah.
I'm not leaving my friend. We don't leave people on the battlefield. I don't leave you. I know you say, your man is blocking. Yeah. Because I don't know where she's gonna take you and get you hit in the head. So just keep that in mind when you're traveling internationally, and you want to be safe first. Now, I'm gonna end up. I'm not stealing your thunder, Will, but I'm gonna end up with a good guy video. Somebody sent me this like today, and I had to actually copy it from my phone because I'm old. Some of y'all is old, and
my God.
And I got a kick out of it just because sometimes we don't think of things in this term. So let's just take a look at this.
Hey, before you start the video,
I'm sorry. Stop. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that in enhanced ID, you will need to travel within the United States now. TSA is already letting people know as of May 7th, I think it is.
It's May 7th.
May 7th. You will not be able to get on a plane if you do not have that ID.
But
all right. The only thing that supersedes is a passport.
You have that or a passport.
Yes, or a passport. Also, AirPods are very beneficial when you travel. Throw them in your luggage. Your luggage disappears, gets taken. My godson came down here. We're waiting for all the bags. His bag gone. We see another bag looks exactly like his. It's there. The person took his bag by mistake because they looked alike, and he's following it and seeing, it's headed towards the city. So we were able to locate the bag and switch it with the other one because the airport was like, that was their response. So AirPods are very good. They're
AirPods or AirTags?
I'm sorry, AirTags. AirTags. Yeah, it's the sun. I'm sorry, it's the sun. It's getting to me.
Okay.
AirTags.
It's just like it's real ID.
And they're cheap. You get like 3 for a couple, like $25 for 3, something like that. They're very cheap on Amazon. But yes, make copies of all your documents when you travel. Leave your documents in the hotel in the safe, and have the copies with you. But just make sure you have all those copies. But passport, if it's a country that you think something can take off at any moment, then I would carry that passport with me because, like Dee said, you go straight to the embassy. Forget about your bags. Forget about everything else. Go straight to the embassy, and they will airlift you out of that country if they need to.
Gotcha.
That's it. Thank you, D. You covered everything else.
And the State Department website, Karen Caffey says, State Department website. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, so I was going to try and finish what everybody else had said before we go to the chase.
Okay.
Dave Van Cleef says, blessings to all. This group is very important, so keep doing what we are doing.
Nice.
Marcus Dick says, I thought we were becoming Russia, looking more like apartheid South Africa. Dave Van Cleef also comes back and states there are rules in New Jersey. I think that was for you, D.
Yeah.
And then Kathy says, if your passport expires after your driver's license, you can use that and then upgrade to your real ID. And then she came back and said her second point is what Schoon said. And it says, see more. Make sure you check the U.S. State Department website before you leave home. And I'm going to tell you something that I do, because I go abroad now more often now that I'm retired. I have scanned my passport into my phone. So if I left my passport at the hotel, most of the time we keep our phones with us. So with that being said, it just stays in your phone, and when you need it, just your passport is right there. That's just the word that I do. In the meantime, take it away, D.
I scan mine in my burner phone.
Okay.
Okay, come on with it, D. We about to go.
That would go too far.
You want a woman that understands the signs of stroke. That's what I'm looking for. A woman that got my medication in her purse. Open your mouth. Open your mouth. I thought you took it. I thought I did. You want a woman that's your nurse. See, if you go to dinner with a woman that's 55 years old and your little lip curl up, she know what to do. Hey, Jamal, look at me. Jamal, look at me. She'll get you to a hospital and save your life. But a girl 20, quit making faces at me. It's not funny anymore. Now you all stroked out for the rest of your life because your little cute girlfriend didn't know the signs of stroke.
Okay. That's the way to put a cherry on top of this. Do we have any of our ladies that can attest to any of that?
We're gonna be quiet.
Listen, folks, we run over our time a little bit, but for the benefit of the discussion and the knowledge that we passed on, it was well worth it. I saw that Cal had put up, and here we go once again in the midst of a show. NYPD helicopter goes down and 4 lives lost.
Yes.
Is that correct, Kyle?
Yep.
Yep.
So
That's correct.
That's
It's
what's
correct. I'm
um,
watching it now.
on the screen right now. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a such thing as getting used to death, and particularly when it hits home with people that share the same profession. You know, there's a reason why they call us family, because we spend more time in this job, on the job, during those years than we do probably with our actual family. So when one hurts, we all hurt. When one goes down, we all feel that pain. So that being said, I'd like to give special thanks to our panelists that joined us today. Special thanks to everybody that tuned in with us, the comments, the watching. We really, really appreciate your participation. Let somebody know. We always enjoy more in the conversation. And, you know, we're throwing that pebble out there. We just want to see the ripple effect. So if Cheryl, if you would be so kind as to take us out in prayer.
Nice.
Well, you're gonna ask me.
We can do that if Cheryl wants to pass the baton.
No, I understand.
No. I'm good with it as long as you guys can hear me. Before I pass before I go to prayer, I do want to make a comment that Renee Henderson said Sinbad. David Van Cleef comes and says that's real love. Marcus Diggs says ouch. And Renee Henderson comes back and says not NYPD helicopter. 2 adults and 3 children on the comments that were made about that helicopter.
Okay.
Okay, in the meantime, Father God, we come before you once again, thanking you for life itself, thanking you for a day that we have seen and will see no more. And Father, as we leave this panel, this open group conversation, we pray that you touch each and every one as present, their lives, their families, their children's children, and their children's children's children. Father, we bless now, and we pray that they'll go home safely and return next week as we come back again Thursday at 3 o'clock. Amen.
Amen.
Much love. Much love.